because we got people walking around that just need to know you need them. Sorry, buddy. Just raise your hand if you need any help with this. If you're on the Rinkeby network and you send your address, you're good. Okay, cool. We have to get their address. This is going to be a big DAO. Yeah, we'll see if it works. I'm so these guys.
Could you stand there for a sec that I can like focus on you?
Yeah. They need to send it on yeah, they can send it online or Telegram.
It's live.
Is there a way to lower it? Yeah, I know, that's a crazy.
Can you lower it on your computer? Can you lower it on your computer?
No, I didn't even want to talk.
But it's fine. It's fine.
It works every time.
It really does.
So hey everybody, and welcome to another advanced crypto meetup at Monday at Food for Thought. Monday is of course our favorite days of the week because we gather here to talk about some really cool latest and greatest tech in crypto. And yeah, we're happy that Food for Thought is hosting us here. Thanks for that.
Absolutely. So, and really glad to see another great turnout tonight. Last week was a huge turnout, which we were very happy to see. The content fell a little bit short, but I think tonight we won't have that problem. We have a great speaker tonight. You can go ahead.
Yeah, we have something special again tonight, as every other Monday. We have. How many of you were here a year ago, more or less, when Griff presented Given? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. So most of you were not. So yeah, we just introduced our tonight's speaker, Griff, founder of Giveth, which is and I guess I'm gonna say this right. It's a decentralized platform for donations and giving, supporting any of the causes that allows you complete transparency in your donations, and also it cuts out the middleman, which is what we do with crypto. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so this evening Griff is going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about using Aragon to build some unstoppable organizations. Again, no middleman, so how we can use blockchain technology to, well, as we said in the meetup, to, let's say, avoid governments, avoid banks. Can we do all the things without them?
You can use the F word. It's permissive.
It's allowed.
Yeah, I allow it. Food for thought.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
So right, Griff is also has been involved with all kind of DAOs since the DAO. So he was a community manager of the DAO back in the time, and so he has a lot of knowledge, a lot of lessons learned back in the time, and well, he keeps coming back and getting better and stronger and getting bigger. Governments, banks, he needs them. I think.
So we're very pleased to have you, Griff, and do feel free to share a bit more about your background and a bit more about Giveth as well, if you like. But without further ado,
we're going to start this time with something else. So before Griff Green, we're going to show you some nice video about this Aragon technology. So I posted this video on our Facebook group. Maybe some of you haven't seen it, but I think it's really interesting and well-produced video with really strong message. So let's start with that.
I think there's already a revolution happening. We're seeing it everywhere.
Honestly, I feel like blockchain is almost slipping through the cracks. They don't even see that we're a threat yet. If you have a decentralized entity that people can opt into, that starts performing services that the government used to provide, then what do you need these guys for? Bitcoin is the first real experiment in DAOs. It's the first DAO that ever existed.
What's a DAO? I mean, decentralized autonomous organization, what it stands for. Right? Basically, a decentralized autonomous organization is an organization in which you can interact with it without having to go through an intermediary. I think that's very important for us to have tools that are really user-friendly for the system.
We have evolved so much as a society, but yet our governance structures are hundreds of years old.
We had a long period of monarchies, right? And that was a very centralized form of governance. And we had a great evolution with democracies, right? Spreading that power a bit more. Now, I would argue that corporations are superseding nation states in terms of their power.
You're a digital serf right now, living on Facebook. You work the land, you work the feed, and they take all the benefit. They take all of the value, right? It's a free service where you are the product.
Systems tend to perpetuate themselves. In other words, capitalism tends to do what's best for the market, maybe not what is best for all the individuals who comprise the market.
Silicon Valley, they tend to fund projects or companies that are trying to solve very much first world problems. How do you get your food 5 minutes quicker? How do you get your Uber 10 minutes faster? Whereas with blockchain technology, we have the ability to fund social good and provide value to the most undervalued parts of humanity.
This is the most egalitarian way to construct systems.
Culture is moving faster than the nation state can handle.
right? We can have that same personal feeling that I have with my neighbor, with the people in a chat room.
Traditional government institutions take tremendously long time to fail, and when they do fail, there's usually violence. So try not to let them fail. But today, we are in the first time in history that we've actually tried out new governance model with the need of people getting killed, because we can try those governance models from the comfort of our sofa. In the mathematical realm, you cannot transfer land written with a gun.
Because it's unstoppable. It's open source code. The cat's out of the bag right away when someone has the idea.
Anything closed source is like saying, I'm a scientist and I proved something, but I'm not going to show you how I proved it.
It's just free. You download it from the internet. It's open source. You want to enhance if you do, and if you don't like it, you can just fork it.
And if we have means by which groups can connect to each other to form larger governance structures that govern the entire whole, then we have something that kind of is resembling a fractal structure.
If you think about kind of other examples of superorganisms, you know, like beehives and ant colonies, or even just the human body itself is a bunch of cells and microorganisms that are all working together in a single like human body as their environment.
But now what we have proliferating crypto networks is actually these supranational protocols in which human activity can be governed on this international basis without nation states, without corporations. So what it allows is for people to come together from wherever, and they can interact together, they can make decisions, they can share in the cost, and then they can all benefit together.
Governance ends up being a really key part of making that work. And if you view blockchains from an evolutionary standpoint, this may be the most critical feature one could imagine.
Any organization of any kind, from your mom and pop shop to your decentralized autonomous organization, can create an entity on Aragon's network and use it for all kinds of things, like their cap table, like payroll, to show where their finances are going, for voting, for upgrades, to the way in which that organization works.
Aragon is a tool that I think will spawn many different early attempts at decentralized governance structures, which, if implemented well, will be memorable.
It's actually so it's the Aragon platform to build and govern organizations, societies, and protocols. And the other part is the first digital jurisdiction that has ever existed, the Aragon network.
That doesn't happen very often in the real world. It's rare that you get to set up a new central bank or a new government. So I think we're going to be in sort of this Cambrian explosion of experimentation on both of those fronts.
But with any huge transition that happens in human history, they are very insistent in making us believe that we need them. So the incumbents are trying to use their marketing power, their communication power, their surveillance power to convince people that they still need them. That the market and the people who live in the doubt that we don't. That would be the end of this answer.
All right, everybody, I'll give you Griff Green. Welcome back to Food for Thought, man.
Thanks. It's good to be back. Thank you, Bowman. Thank you, Charles, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love it out here. Let me just say, Chiang Mai is, if I could live one place, and you guys got it good. You guys got it really good. So it is incredible. I've seen it. I can't believe that so many people here in crypto winter, like at a crypto meetup, like in a small town like Chiang Mai. Magical. So, yeah.
Before we start, do you know about the rule when presenting here?
No.
One rule? Rule? No. There's one rule. So airplanes pass by.
Yeah.
When they pass, drink.
Okay.
Right? Got
That's
it?
right, drink. Okay, so today, my background, right? Degree in digital currencies, a master's degree, and I got really into the project called the DAO. Used to work for Slockit, and it was one of the first attempts to create a DAO on Ethereum, and it kind of crashed and burned, like, historically, right? It raised $150 million, and then it got hacked for $50 million, ended up resulting in a hard fork within the Ethereum network. And there's lots of drama around that, but that's not the topic here. One thing that Bowen said, which I have to disagree with, is that I'm going to talk about something different than Giveth. To me, Aragon and Giveth are the same thing. Yeah, Giveth is about creating communities around causes. That's the idea, that we don't need charities in the middle between donors and the people doing good work. That we can actually just put everyone together and they can solve the tragedy of the commons issue that they're trying to solve together better than they can separated, right? And to do this though, effectively, I think we can also start adventuring in new incentive models around these businesses, these nonprofit organizations. So Aragon is the perfect tool for this because it's a very modular, decentralized, autonomous organization like factory. And you can add in different features and you can change the way tokens are created. And you can really do some crazy stuff with this tool. And I'm excited, I want to get right into it. I'm pretty excited to create a DAO for this community because I think that you guys might actually play with it and have some fun.
We are coming and we are coming in waves.
That's what I'm talking about. Carlos Matos, that'll be the first vote. We'll try to, we'll play with that later. So, is there anyone here that actually brought their computer and wants to create a DAO? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna create a DAO for Chiang Mai, for the crypto community. But you guys, you can follow along and do the same thing for your own DAO. The main things that you're gonna want to know are like what is the topic of your DAO, so you can name it, and what is the governance structure of your DAO. And I guess I'm just gonna dive right in, guys, okay? So I'm going to, so I went straight to rinkeby.aragon.org. If you wanna do this on mainnet, it's the same thing, mainnet.aragon.org. Because I don't imagine this DAO will actually hold value, I'm not thinking that you guys are gonna send money to this DAO and then make decisions over it. This is more just for fun, yeah?
Yeah, maybe first give a bit of introduction about DAOs for people who are not familiar with it, what it is, how it works.
Yeah, so DAOs are a new form of governance, really, like a new form of jurisdiction. Every Bitcoin, Ethereum, every blockchain is actually a DAO. It's a decentralized, autonomous organization. It's an example of a decentralized organization would be Wikipedia. Lots of people are contributing all over the world, but it's not autonomous because they have a foundation that could be shut down. They have bank accounts that can be shut down. You saw this with WikiLeaks, right? They were able to shut down their credit cards, and then Bitcoin's the only way they survived. And they probably had to move their servers to a lot of other places. But in the end, drink. I need to get amped up, man. Probably cocoa coffee. So Wikipedia is a decentralized organization because it's not autonomous. An example of a decentralized autonomous network would be the internet. The idea of an internet kill switch, I just don't really buy it. In the end, you're always going to be able to network your computer to other people's computers. And then if you ping pong these network connections, you're going to be able to have this decentralized autonomous network that anyone can opt into. Problem is, it's not an organization because there's no real rules that allow it to self-organize, right? An example of a centralized autonomous organization is a government. Governments are centralized autonomous organizations. They're autonomous because the rules can only be changed from inside. If the US wants to change the government of Russia, well, they can impose sanctions, they can make the environment around Russia something, but they can't actually change the rules that organizes how Russia governs themselves, right? And this is the same with DAOs. No one can come in and impose some other rules on this organization, right? And the real power here is you get to choose your jurisdiction. Or create your jurisdiction. Bitcoin is a DAO. You have a bunch of miners all over the world. You have a bunch of people that are using the currency all over the world. There's no way to shut Bitcoin down. If you went to everybody who's mining it and try to shut them down, other people would just pop up. And it has rules that make it self-organizing, right? So Bitcoin is its own jurisdiction. Ethereum is a DAO in its own jurisdiction. Aragon, the Aragon DAO we're going to create, is on the Rinkeby testnet, which is a jurisdiction. Drink. Yeah, it's going to sell a lot of drinks for food for thought, guys. We're doing this. Support the local economy. So yeah, if we create this DAO, it's honestly only sort of a DAO because it's only sort of autonomous. It's actually living on the Rinkeby testnet, and if Rinkeby testnet wants to, just stop, then this DAO could die. But the cool thing is, anyone can, and we saw this with the DAO. The DAO was in the Ethereum jurisdiction, and they kicked it off, right? The community around Ethereum said, no, we don't like this, and we're gonna hard fork the DAO hacker off the network. We're just gonna steal from the DAO hacker and give it back to the people who he stole from in the first place. But actually, yeah, exactly, right? The community said no. And then the DAO hacker still has money on Ethereum Classic. It still effectively was unstoppable code because he's still got the money. He cashed some out their shapeshift. In fact, the DAO hack is really a magical thing. It's the only hack in the world I know of where everybody won. The hacker made money. Everybody in Ethereum got extra ETC that was created out of nothing. All the DAO token holders were made whole with their ether. The only people who lost were the speculators that bet wrong. But that's a zero-sum game. Some people lost, some people won. The DAO hack, I would argue, is something magical, something weird happened there. But anyway, so here we're going to create a DAO on the Rinkeby jurisdiction, and if the people who run the Rinkeby network decide that they don't like us, they can do whatever they want. They can fork us off. But we can actually then use the old clients for the Rinkeby network and move it over and keep the network alive, probably. So it's still kind of autonomous, but you gotta remember that you're in a jurisdiction when you're on a blockchain. But this is what's really cool. Now you can pick your jurisdiction. You don't have to be part of a government. If you want to start a company, a global company, and you are willing to live off of crypto, you can do that with this tool. You can literally just start a regular mom and pop shop. Food for Thought could have a DAO, and they only accept Bitcoin. It would probably be hard to make money, but they could do it. And they could start a company, and they would live in the Ethereum jurisdiction. If Thailand wanted to seize their funds or kick them out, and somehow stop them from making decisions in any way, they can't. There's no one that can stop this. I'm really excited about it for charity work, activism, real people that are doing maybe some risky things, but they can't be stopped. They can actually organize. They can have a bank account. They can have an Ethereum account, and they can make decisions over shared resources. But let's start the show. So let's see. Let's call this. We're going to make a DAO, and we're going to call it Crypto CM. And so if you're following along, go to Rinkeby or mainnet, doesn't matter, rinkeby.aragon.org, and make sure this is on Rinkeby. Also, I hope everyone moves their iPhone app to Rinkeby, their iPhone app, their Metamask, their Cypher, whatever. You need to make sure that this right here, I'm using Metamask, is set to the Rinkeby test network. And so we're gonna, if you're making a DAO, you just make sure you have the name right there. And then you get this screen which allows you to choose a kit. So these kits are preloaded types of organizations. Right now there's only two. We're building a liquid funding one right now, which is gonna be really cool. There's lots of other kits that are in the works, but keeping it simple for people to play with, right? So the multi-sig one is one person, one account, one vote. democracy one can be much more exciting. You can give, it's one token, one vote. So people can have many tokens. Like in this DAO, the crypto in Chiang Mai DAO, well, Seven King is the benevolent dictator. So he's definitely going to end up with more tokens than all of you guys. Come on, get out of here. Because he's in control.
What about his number 2?
Oh yeah, we'll ask you how many tokens everyone gets. Okay, so let's make sure this is cool. That's right, at that last screen you can load a previous DAO, but this is where you actually create it. Okay, so now in a democracy we have these 3 factors, right? This is a very basic democracy. So you have, when you have a vote, right, if the vote should count, there should be a certain amount of people that actually vote and participate in the vote. If only one person says yes, that's probably not a good, vote, unless of course it's 7, then it's a yes. So there's this rule called quorum. I like to set quorum for 51%. So more than half the people should say yes, or more than half the weight of tokens should say yes. And then for support, this is like how many people, more than half the people should vote. More than half the token weight should vote. And in support, this is how many people need to say yes. So I like to have a high threshold for yes. This is just my opinion making these DAOs. It's more fun when it's competitive, So 67% of people have to say yes. Oh, over half this has to, oh no. 51. Ah. There we go. And then this is vote duration. So how long does the vote last before it's a no? So here a vote can last just until it reaches these thresholds for the whole organization, or if if it reaches quorum, but so it hasn't reached support yet, or whatever, then it'll go until the end. And if it hits this number, then the vote will say no, right? But they'll leave it open for this long. So we'll just say 72 hours. And so we'll call this the crypto CM. And I hope you guys who are making your own DAOs came up with cool names. And this is all, let's see, crypto CM token. This is where you name your token, obviously. So we'll call it CCMT. No. And so here's where it pops up something cool, like a little Metamask transaction. And we'll just confirm. You can see if this was on mainnet, it would cost $2.30. For this, the first transaction is creating a mini-me token. The mini-me token is actually a token contract that I helped design with my good buddy Jordy Belina. And it allows you to vote really easily because you can create a clone token. So like when you have this token in your when you have the token that they give you, it's like the main governance token, and then every time a vote is created, another token is created just for that vote. So then you can still trade your governance token if it also has value, but you're still, if you had, when the vote started, you can still vote on the proposal at that moment, right? So it's a clear, it allows you to have a clear delineation of who can vote and who can't without staking the points. So it's something we learned from the DAO. And then $6 to confirm this, to do the next transaction, which actually deploys your organization. So that was less than $10. For less than $10, you can create an unstoppable organization. That's pretty cool, right? Any questions on how this thing's going? Yeah.
I want to say it's even cheaper.
It's even cheaper? Oh, because I use high gas.
You're paying 10 gas.
Yeah. So I'm going balls to the wall over here. It could be 1/5 as expensive. Yeah.
Where do the tokens come from?
The tokens are being created. We just created the tokens. So a token on Ethereum is actually a contract, that just says who has the balance. So I just created a contract on Ethereum that says I have 1 token, and now it also says the rules on who can add more tokens, and I'll show how that works in detail. Okay, so let's get ready. Let's get started. Okay, so here we have our DAO. It's pretty cool. You know, it's loading some applications for us. The applications that are loaded in Democracy by default are, of course, Token Manager, so that this organization can control who is in their organization, right? The members that are allowed to have votes. You can allow people, like you can assign tokens and give new people votes. Right now I have 100% of the tokens, just me. But I'm going to assign someone else to have tokens. Actually, Lorelei, who runs all the governance experiments in Giveth as well. She's going to, you guys all gave her your addresses, so we will, come on there.
Everybody should have RinkVS now. I sent it to every address that I got.
She's making it rain over here. Okay, let's just refresh and see what happens. So in the token app, you can assign tokens and create tokens for people, but you can also, as an organization, if you don't like somebody in your organization, you can kick them out as an organization, right? So you can actually say, you know what, this guy's a douche. I don't like him. He's like spamming us with horrible votes and all this stuff. We don't need him anymore. And as a community, you can choose to ostracize him and kick him out. Aww.
So what happens to his tokens once you kick him out?
What do you mean?
Well, when you kick out someone and he had some tokens of your DAO, so what happens to the tokens?
The tokens are burned. You can burn the tokens, so you just destroy the tokens.
Okay, so as a dictator of DAO, you can destroy everyone's tokens.
Well, yes. Right now, I'm going to actually make Lorelei the dictator on assigning tokens once I add her to the DAO first, and we'll vote on that. And then you can, with this DAO, you can control your governance model, right? So you can say, yes, Lorelei is the dictator on dishing tokens out, but she only has that specific permission. And so all the permissions with this organization are very modular. And you can say, I want this person to assign tokens. I want every other feature to be designed for voting, right? You have to vote to kick someone out. And you can add different voting apps as well. Let's see, let me get her address here. Oh, come on, baby. There we go. So I'm gonna give her 1 token. Yeah, just one. Sorry. You're lucky you're even in this DAO. Are you kidding? This is Stefan's baby. Can't believe he's letting me do this stuff. Okay, so I'm dishing it out. So in a second, she's going to get a token, and that will mean that I have 50% of the tokens and she has 50% of the tokens. And now we're going to go into the permissions app, and we're actually going to change how the permissions work.
My wife still doesn't believe in me.
It's true. Okay, she got her token. Look at that. Okay, for some reason this app. Luckily, I kind of helped build this shit, so I can hack around it. Okay, so here we go. This is the permissions app. Here we can add any rules that we want into this DAO. So this ACL is the magic that allows that to happen. It's called access control logic. And so we can change the way that we can pick and choose which function is able to be controlled by which part of the organization, or even just a random address, which is what we're going to do. Hey, do you know where? Oh yeah, it works. Thank God. So we're going to we're going to add a permission in the token manager, and we're going to let Lorelai's address assign mint tokens. So now Lorelai is the goddess of the tokens, and if you sent her address, her an address on Facebook or Telegram or any of that stuff, or you sent it to me, I sent it to her because she's the boss now. She can actually assign tokens. Before, to assign tokens, I actually had to do a vote. What?
This vote needs to pass. So you just started a vote. You just started a vote. The vote needs to pass before she gets the permission.
He's absolutely right. So let's go to voting. So I created this vote, right? I need to send her a link. So this vote didn't pass because now I only have half the tokens, and we actually need 67% support and 50% quorum. So if she votes no, then she doesn't get to be the boss, right? I think she's gonna vote yes. Yeah, but I have to send her the link so that she can get.
Is that the only way that you can access your DAOs? I mean, is there a way that's attached to your address?
Well, technically, you could see that you just received tokens if you go to Etherscan or Block Scout, and you can see like what has happened on your account. Also, there's this cool list. It's only for mainnet, but it lists all the DAOs on mainnet right now. So you could scroll through this list and you could play with it. And actually what's really cool about DAOs in general is that anyone, or at least the default settings, so there's 253 DAOs on mainnet right now, and anyone can go to any of these DAOs and actually, at least the default settings, they can propose a vote. So you could go to Frame's DAO right here, and you could just say, hey guys, Frame is a Metamask competitor, right? You say, hey guys, I think that actually you should just like fork Metamask code and not do anything so cool. You could go and propose that to their DAO, and they would like get to see that opinion and decide whether or not it's a good idea. It really allows, at least the default settings are set to allow grassroots ideas to trickle up.
So it's like a,
Did you vote yes?
petition or something. Question.
So is it very similar to a petition, or does it have additional features?
You can, so this is the cool thing about Aragon. Anything that, yeah, it's the mic pointing at the speaker. But anything that you want to do, you can create smart contracts. So if you say, hey, I don't want anyone to be able to ask my DAO anything unless X, Y, Z happens, you can create an Aragon app. And actually our team I almost forgot to say this. I'm leading I'm the founder of a second development team for Aragon called the Aragon DAC. Aragon has decided to decentralize their development. So there's 3 teams right now that are trying to work on this. Autark, the Aragon DAC, and Aragon 1, the initial team. And the Aragon DAC is really focusing on letting people build custom DAOs using the command line interface. So we're trying to make it really easy where if you have this idea, you can go into our code and find a way to make your own app really easily. So that you're like, oh yeah, hey man, we want to have like, you have to have 300 tokens behind you, or like 3% of the tokens behind you before you can propose a vote. We can build that app pretty simply. Probably might take like 2 weeks. And obviously we want your help if you're a developer or you know of one. And then we can just connect that. And you might not have a UI right away, but you can build that into the command line and launch it into your DAO, and you'd have like kind of a default thing here in the permissions list. Lorelai has the power. She accepted it, and so now if we go into permissions, looks like that's a problem. We can go into the token manager here, and we can see that we didn't actually take the power of minting tokens away from voting. We as a community could still mint tokens for anyone, but we gave Lorelai's address here, the ability to send tokens to everyone. So she's gonna make it rain to everyone. She's gonna assign tokens one at a time. And do you want to have that on the screen? So I'll show you guys the process. Let's see what kind of technical hurdles we run into when I'm playing these games without testing. Oh, her porn's gonna show up right here. No. Yep. Yep, there we go.
We gotta the token, right? Somebody can sign, right? Oh, and Stefan's number 1. I have to find something.
The boss, the benevolent dictator. He's so kind to let us, plebs like hang out in his DAO, right? Like the serfdom, giving the serfdom some voice. We'll see how long it lasts, He can just kind of kill this DAO once we give him the power. Give him 100 tokens. How many tokens do you want Bobin to have?
200.
200? You're gonna get what? Look at him trying to decentralize himself. Okay.
I am right now independently, financially independently.
Oh baby, he's financially independently, baby. This is exciting. Okay, so now he has tokens. Let's make it rain for Bobin. Bobin's going to be the boss of the DAO.
Do I have Bobin tablets?
Yeah, I'm sure. Bobin, did you give us your address? No, you didn't? Bobin!
What the hell, man?
Oh, can you give us an Ethereum address? Oh no, he's not ready for it. I guess Bobin's out of the DAO, man.
He knows how to dodge responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. He's bailing to the islands anyway. Who needs him? Okay, so now she's just gonna keep giving tokens to everybody.
That's a scam!
Okay, and then I'm gonna create a vote while we're waiting. And let's see, how about however many you want. So, Seven, how many tokens should she give to every individual member? 5? 10. 10. They're so generous.
I was gonna go with equality and give 100, but...
Yeah. Stephen King, he doesn't want to be king. Who would have thought? I would. He told me last night.
I mean, it's okay. If then other people gang up on me, they can have everything.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think that's a good ratio, right? Okay, yeah?
Question. So am I minting these as I'm assigning them?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so I'm going to create a vote. Oh yeah! Let me, I don't have Facebook. Can you post the link? Can you post the link on Facebook to the DAO that I sent you? And so I'm going to create a vote for getting Carlos Matos to Chiang Mai, huh? Carlos is coming, guys. I'm telling you, he's gonna be here. Okay, so I just created that vote. That vote doesn't have any actual weight, right? So the cool thing with DAOs is that you can put resources into the DAO, and then you can actually enforce the results of the vote automatically. There's amazing tools out there for polling a community. We really like Lumio. If you've ever used, if you want to make kind of a decentralized community and understand what people are thinking, Lumio is an amazing tool for that. And I talk to the Lumio guys once in a while because I love their stuff so much. They're a bunch of activists in Wellington, New Zealand, that were part of the Occupy movement, and they felt like people didn't have a voice. We couldn't understand what people were saying. So they created this application where you can see what other, you can see what the community thinks, and have all sorts of cool tools. I would say better than Aragon, so that our DAC uses this for our own internal governance. And we just created a block proposal, for instance, and we polled the people for what should be in the scope of our proposal, right? Because we're kind of trying to be a decentralized community. Hey, community, hey, other Aragon devs, what do you want us as a dev team to focus on? And here's like 10 options. And then we had them rank these options. But Lumio has no way to enforce this. I can just make whatever document I want and turn it in. But of course, I use this tool that allows you to do all these cool votes, right? So like you can make a proposal, which is what we're doing with Carlos Matos. You can do a dot poll, a score poll, ranked choice. I think we did ranked choice. No, we did a score poll. But Lumio has no way to enforce this. If we send money in, so let's say this vote passes and we want Carlos Matos. Someone's gonna take the agency to call Carlos and be like, yo, Carlos, you wanna go to Thailand? It's gonna be fun. How much does it cost to get you out here, man? What's the flight cost and this stuff? And they're gonna work, they're gonna work with Carlos and they're gonna see how much it would cost to get him out here. And then you can make another vote that says, hey, do you want, hey community, if we can raise 20 Ether or 200, 2,000 ANT tokens or whatever amount it costs to get Carlos Matos out there, maybe DAI, maybe it costs 1,000 DAI, which is one DAI is $1 US about. Then this DAO can actually hold that DAI. And if the address, or if the DAO says yes, the money will be sent, right? There's a direct link between the results of the vote and what actually happens without any legal entity enforcing that action, right? This is enforced by the network that's underneath it. And that's what's really cool about DAOs. Like, if you have an election and the dictator loses, he can just be like, whatever, guys, I'm out. Or if you guys, part of the rules was that he was only allowed to spend so much money on whatever, you could actually enforce that with this. And this is, of course, early days, right? You're just playing with programmable money in a very simple way. But this will, I believe, this will eventually lead to some really cool things with token economic and like crypto primitives that we can piece together. One of the things, yeah, I really think this tool is the foundation for ways to change the way the world works, change the incentives around tragedy commons issues. Yeah.
So the question about enforcing it. So, all right, it's obvious that whatever it's in the contract, when people vote on that, after the execution, it's going to transfer the funds to wherever it needs to be transferred. But still, there is the execution part of who would make Carlos Matos really come here if that's voted and if the funds are transferred. Where is the enforcement in the physical world? So it's clear about transferring of funds, but do we have anything to make sure it happens? Here we speak about alternatives to governments, and we know that governments have police and all these things to enforce things in case we don't want to do that. So how is that handled within the DAO?
Yeah, so what we're doing with Givit plugs in really well into Aragon, because we have this milestone system where instead of just giving Carlos the money and say, we trust you, you can come, that could actually go into a simple contract that just says, hey, a reviewer that we trust, maybe it's like 2 people here that have to do or 3 people here have to do a 2 of 3 multi-sig and say that this guy actually came, right? So instead of the $1,000 going to him, the $1,000 just goes into a smart contract that he would get reimbursed for his costs plus a little bit extra if he comes, right? But you can't enforce, This is the magic of blockchain technology. You cannot use this to enforce your values on other people. Right? That's what we learned with the DAO. Like the Ethereum community was like, dude, fuck the DAO. We're not happy with how it turned out. This hacker just stole a bunch of money. The Ethereum community is like, hey, let's just steal the money back and give it back to the people. That's great. And for that community, they were able to impose those values, right, on each other, who all agreed to it. But if you didn't agree to that, then you have Ethereum Classic. The Ethereum blockchain, a lot of people question its immutability, right? But Ethereum Classic is still there. It was immutable. And the DAO still exists. The DAO hacker has those funds. And if you believe that the DAO hacker was right to steal that money, then you can develop on Ethereum Classic. And you can continue to work there. You can't force anybody to do anything with blockchain tech. That's the real magic here. And it's so nice to build on top of a tool that has this voluntary political leaning, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, so from this I have a more practical question now. So I went to it and I cannot vote on Carlos Meadows for some reason, probably because Laura still has to add my address. But the strange thing is that I could put you on the spot and create a vote to ask people if you're a good presenter. So how is that possible?
Yeah, that's because anyone can create a vote. That's the settings of this DAO. That was actually along the lines of what Stefan was asking, is that can you change these rules? The default rule here is that anyone in the world, anyone with an Ethereum address can, and some Rinkaby Ether for this DAO, can actually create a poll. They can't, I think they can even create a transaction. They can say, hey, we should send money to this person, right? By default, but that setting can be changed. Any setting can be changed in this Permissions app. And if you go real crazy, any governance system that you want to create, you can actually build that with this foundation. So that's the magic of Aragon, is that it has a modular setup. There are other DAO groups out there that I love them all. We got Colony, right there, actually. And they have a beautiful meritocracy type system. Is that thing live yet?
No, not yet.
So close, it's so close.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2 weeks. We have this joke in Ethereum, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Hey guys, drink. Someone's really hacking this thing, look at that. ACL revokes any account the ability to perform actions. Scary, dude. Scary. I don't even know. You want to tell us what you did? You want to tell us what this vote means?
This means we can vote on it, and then only token holders will be able to vote, right?
No one will be able to vote.
Really?
Yeah. Before you pass this, you should probably create the thing that would give token holders the ability to create a vote.
Okay. I thought any account meant like any account, like anyone who would come.
Currently, token holders count as any account.
Okay.
But I'll go over there and help you create that.
Yeah.
Wait, do it on this one. Do it on this one. Yeah, so everyone can see.
So all I did is I went to permissions, and it said permissions set on this app, create new votes, any account, and then I clicked revoke.
So what you did was you said no one can create any votes.
Unintentionally.
Yeah, but this is the scary thing about DAOs, right? You make it so easy for people to use, and then oh my God, they could just lock up all their funds. So this is scary tech. You know, this is the problem with blockchain technology and decentralized systems in general, in my opinion, is that it's pretty dangerous to start off full-on decentralized because there's no safety net. I learned that one firsthand. $50 million hack, man, this fucking sucks.
You almost all your money.
Yeah, right. And so it's, in my opinion, a better design to probably start off centralized, like start with a regular company with a regular business license and play that game, and then slowly decentralize once you gain trust in the code underneath that you're using.
So what did Jeremy just do now? Which magic?
So before we take away the ability of anyone to create a vote, we should start by giving any token holder the ability to create a vote, so that when we take away the ability for anyone to create a vote, at least the token holders can still create votes. And you don't break the DAO because no one would be able to create votes.
So I should say Jeremy is one of the lead devs for the Aragon DAC. So what he said was that if you want to remove the permission to allow anyone to propose a vote, like Chris who doesn't have tokens yet, first you need to make sure that you have somebody who can propose the vote. So he added the rule that only token holders can propose votes. So you have to have one token to propose a vote. And so that's vote number 5. So I would strongly recommend a no vote on number 4. That's just my suggestion. First, make sure that this first vote passes. Because you can make number 5 pass first. So we can vote this through. So let's get number 5 through, guys. And then this one can also be voted yes. So then, because if this goes through and this one doesn't, then nothing will change. Well, except these token holders will have the right to vote, and also anyone will have the right to vote. Or sorry, right to propose votes. So, and if you say this one, and this one, then only token holders will have the right to vote. And if this one passes, then afterwards, then no one will have, no random people from outside the organization have the right to vote, right? So this is the cool thing. You can change the governance model within itself. It's like you have the statutes of your organization are codified, and you have the way that they can be written and changed is defined by the code itself. So you don't have the bureaucracy anymore. You don't have to go to board meetings and say, yes, we will change this thing, yeah. I just can't help myself.
Stupid question, how do I vote?
Yeah, so if you go to do you have Facebook? So if you, did you go to this screen? Oh, so drink.
Does that mean that to vote I have to go to this website?
So yes, but you have to use an Ethereum browser. So on your phone, you don't. Did you end up getting Cypher installed? So on Cypher, you can have you can go to this website, which is rinkeby.org, aragon.org/#cryptocm. Oh, come on.
So if this is meant to be an autonomous organization,
yeah.
What's to stop someone from taking your website down?
Well, so this is actually all run on IPFS. So IPFS is a decentralized host. Actually, maybe Jeremy, can I let you explain why this is unstoppable?
So the client that we're using, the web browser that we're using, is a convenience tool for getting to the organization and making it look pretty. The underlying organization can be accessed through a couple different methods, some of which are still in development. The main thing that makes it so that it is impossible to be shut down is that it can be accessed by if you downloaded the open source tools that are available. So you can pretty easily run this, run a clone of this website yourself in a browser, You can run the CLI, which will be accessible just as long as you have access to the code. And we are creating a downloadable version of the CLI, so it doesn't have to run in a browser at all. It can just run on your computer that way. But you're correct that this particular website that we're using to access it could potentially be shut down.
Yeah, and so the first thing is that you don't need a website. You can go to Ethereum and you can use like direct interactions with the Ethereum code if you're like a crazy hacker guy, or at least you study Ethereum for a few months and you figure out what you need to do to make like the data blobs. Or you can look at Etherscan and see what other people did to vote yes and no.
Or you can speak EVM.
Yeah, you can speak EVM and just straight up throw bytecode at them, dude. But the other thing that you can do if you don't want to interact directly with Ethereum, you can go a level up. And this whole UI, all the pictures, all this data is hashed on IPFS, which is the Interplanetary File System. And it can, as long as somebody is hosting those files, you could actually run this website locally on your computer if you download it, or sorry, if you connect through IPFS and that hash. And then you could use that website, which could never actually be shut down. But this is much easier, and Aragon Association hosts this for us, which is very convenient. But if it ever got shut down, you would be able to, you could use Tor, you could use lots of things. I'm sure that we would figure out, make it easy for everyone to access their organizations. Look at, there's already more votes. Oh my God. Someone wants to mint 1 million, what is this, 1 billion tokens? Who wants 1 billion tokens? Oh my God.
Good question.
Crazy. Vote no on number 6, guys. Oh my God. Okay, so number 5 still needs 50% votes. Oh no. Number 4, make it a run for it, guys. Watch out. Oh, we don't have quorum. Oh, hey, yeah, Carlos Matos, dude. Unanimous on number 2. Okay, yeah.
So when you say vote no on such and such a vote, I mean, you're just telling us that, but how would you tell your organization that? What's the sort of default communication tool, and what's coming?
So personally, I'm a big fan of Riot, which I already put up here, and this is an initiative that we want to have for Giveth, is creating, every time someone creates a community, they also create a chat room. And we will create Riot for you on default, but if you want to use Telegram or you want to use something else, then you just like put that like invite link in the deployment. This is for Giveth, and I hope to do it for Aragon too, although it's not on our roadmap for the next 6 months, where you actually connect to a Web 2.0 platform, which is just a chat room. And you can, I like Riot because you can have all these bots, where it's like anytime someone creates a vote, the general channel will get a link that says, hey, someone just created a vote, and you can go check it out, right? Because now, anyone in the world can tweet Donald Trump, okay? Like, President of the United States. We have all these, like, this ability to, to communicate with each other so easily. It's this whole, 4-year representative democracy stuff is crazy. Come on, we can do this as a community without the centralization. And I think we don't have to go crazy with Ethereum. We can just use existing platforms like Telegram or Slack. Hey.
So I've seen Aragon on the list of tokens. So what is the role of the Aragon token in this system?
Yeah, actually I'm interfacing with that right now in a real big way. So an ANT token actually controls the Aragon DAO, and anyone who holds that token actually needs to can participate in the governance of the Aragon Association. So the Aragon Association right now, they're following a safe protocol where the Aragon Association still controls the funds. They haven't moved it to the DAO, but ANT token holders get to decide on proposals that pass through the association's thing. So anyone can use the AGP process and make a proposal for how to spend funds or to change the manifesto or to change anything about the association. And ANT is the governance token for the network. So ANT token holders will get to vote on whether or not our Aragon DAC team receives $250,000. We actually just created a block proposal. Let's see if I can find it. So vote for us, please. Buy some ANT and vote for us. Where we lay out what we want to do with the Aragon ecosystem over the next 6 months and how we are going to do it. So, we're supporting the CLI, the API, hack the tutorials, and we're enabling DApp to DAO interactions. Jeremy is actually the man behind that, making it so that this DAO can then interact directly with the DApp and call functions. It's more complicated than it sounds, unfortunately, but it's a very important tool. And we have our liquid funding, liquid democracy thing that we're going to do with status. And we will only get to do in-person events, which is what I'm doing right now, right? I'm actually acting out this block proposal as we speak. I even mentioned that I was doing this in this proposal. Let's see. Meetup in Chiang Mai. Look, it's happening, guys. Vote for us. We're not scammers. Yeah. Here, we will only get the funds that we're asking for. A one-time payment of this DAI and some ANT for vesting so that we can participate in governance ourselves as a team once we get the ANT. We'll only get this if ANT token holders say yes, right? If ANT token holders say no, then, so the first step is actually for the association to say, yeah, these guys are legit, they're not scammers. Just like how this DAO, if number 4 passes, proposal number 4, not anyone can propose a thing to our DAO. Aragon already passed number 4. They said actually only the association can, only the association can propose, can make proposals to the DAO. And ANT token holders can then either approve or reject those proposals. And it uses a quorum of 1 token, the minimum quorum. And I think approval is set for 51%, something like that. But the other function of the ANT token is for a decentralized justice system. So once there is an organization, like lots of DAOs interacting, they're going to need a dispute resolution organization to deal with problems between the employees of the DAO and the DAO itself, or DAOs that are interacting with each other. And this is the long-term vision for the ANT token, that it will be used to stake into the Aragon justice system, which actually the Aragon 1 team has put forth that they want to work on that this year in their block proposal, right? So if their block proposal passes, they're going to build a dispute resolution organization for DAOs to opt into to resolve issues between counterparties. You had a question over there, right?
There was one more question here.
Hey, so you said that DAOs can transfer Ethereum tokens, right? So I'm assuming they can also call arbitrary functions?
At this stage right now, not really. It kind of can, but there's a development Jeremy is working on, and the Aragon Association is putting in a lot of work to, Aragon 1, the Aragon 1 dev team, is putting in a lot of work to create this thing called an actor app. Because right now, this organization, it's kind of complicated because it has a lot of different apps, which are different smart contracts, which interact with different with different functions. So like the token manager is its own contract, and to assign tokens and interact with a token contract, that you have to call that contract. But voting is another contract. So if you want to do a random function call on a DAO, you need to reference the voting app. And so we need an app that ties them all together. And that's in development. It's called the Actor app, or maybe the Agent app. We're actually still playing with the naming. And that once that app exists, then we can solve some other issues. Like, how do we make that human readable? When you make an external function call to a contract, you're just going to get a blob like X, 0x, a bunch of random numbers and letters and hex. And it's just going to be totally, who knows what that means. So one of our proposals is actually a DAO to solve that problem. It's called the Function Registry DAO that will allow, I guess I come in here, that will allow people to, when they make an external function call, they can choose what the wording is that comes up when that idea is proposed, when that vote is proposed. Problem is, of course, what if they say, hey, I want to just, send a test transaction to this contract to see if it works. It's only going to be 0.1 ether, but actually it's like a million ether to them, right? And so we have to have big warnings that say, yo, this is a user input description. It could be malicious. Be really careful. But at least then users can tell people what they're doing. And the way that we would get around this whole warning system is that we create a DAO that certifies that they're saying the truth, and then probably would edit the description so that you can say like, oh, here's in the data blob where the amount of tokens is, and here's the address that they're interacting with, and then anytime anyone calls that function again, a certified description will come up that says how many tokens they're playing with and what it's actually doing that's been certified by this DAO, which acts as an independent certification agency on this registry of descriptions for transactions.
Cool. And just to follow up, so would that Actor, what was it called? The Actor app allow you to also define functions in that Actor app, so that, because that to me seems like the way to allow two DAOs to communicate with each other?
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Actor app would be governed by the DAO just as all the other apps are, and they can interact with each other directly, following any rules. But yeah, that's exactly it. Do you want to add on that?
Yeah, so it's actually you might not. Yeah, so the Actor app would let you go into another DAO and like have your DAO. One of the things that I've been doing a lot is trying to use Aragon to create multi-factor authentication and credential recovery system. So I could have an Aragon DAO, which is my personal multi-factor authentication credential recovery Actor app, hold the token in another DAO, and then I could start votes or participate in votes with those security guarantees, using my personal DAO. So yeah, the Actor app will allow you to have one DAO make calls in another DAO.
Has anyone successfully voted with Cypher? No? Okay, yeah, that was a test, guys. I'm sorry. I've never used Cypher on a DAO before. But I would try restarting the app and playing around and pushing buttons and see if we can get this thing working. And
Can't even get to like the vote button in the UX.
And definitely try to turn your phone sideways. And you should be able to see more of the screen. Let's see if we can do it. Yeah?
Yeah, so one question is answered now. I had a question. How can you add a description of what you're doing? But so this is currently not possible if I understand it correctly, right? So that's one of the things you guys want to do. And the other question I have is now there's only yes/no votes. Is there a possibility if I want the organization to decide between three options? Is that possible in any way?
It will be.
It will be. But it's being built now.
Yeah, it's in development.
It's in development. Answering it for the next one.
and I think there's a little bit of conversation starting with Lumio about, maybe someday there would be a whole array of options like what Lumio provides.
Yeah.
For different decision-making tools.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm interested, I understand that you can use the system, I give a description, and that it does something else. But for example, now I created number 7, where I'm actually stealing funds. Well, first I donated them myself, but now I'm like taking them back, and I'm sending a payment of 1 ETH to myself. But there's no explanation why I'm doing this, there's no context. But I guess for now this is just not possible.
Yeah, we're still early stages, so some things are not really possible. But one thing that, and it definitely works better on desktop, so if you guys want to participate in this DAO, and you wrote down your 12 words, you can go into Metamask, and you can, if you have a new, you can log out here, and it will allow you to restore from seed. I don't really want to log out because I'm lazy, I'm sorry. But you can restore from seed, and you can put those 12 words into metamask.io. And then it's really cool. It's a really cool backup in general to have the wallet on your phone be the same as the wallet on your computer. So if you ever decide to throw your phone in the moat, you're not like having to dig through moat water, you know, like no one wants to be there, man, no one wants to do that. So if you put those 12 words in the MetaMask, then you can have a backup on your computer, on your phone, and you can use the same address to vote in this DAO, and you can participate. I'm really sorry that cipher didn't work out.
Currently, people are just identified by their public key. What sort of features for identity are you planning? So are you able to, will people on some DAOs, will they be required to verify their public key with some identity? And could you then like restrict individuals' permissions?
So yes, there are lots of cool ideas to get around the identity issue and to solve the identity issue. There's another group that's applying for Flock called Autark, and they have a reputation system that they want to impose. So basically you have a second token, you have a reputation token, and then you have the governance token, and the voting power would be a weight of those two. And so then your reputation would be dependent on how much work you've done for the DAO, and there's a way to earn reputation tokens, right? The other project I want to mention is IDEN3, which is a project that I advise closely on and work really closely on. And the idea is that any identity can make a claim on any other identity. So you have a decentralized identity system, and you can choose which authorities you listen to. So like maybe for this DAO, you want only people who are certified as Ethereum experts can call functions that are external function calls, right? So so you basically have like a technical sub-council, and the people who are authorized to say that they're actually like certified to do Ethereum transactions will be Stefan and Bobin and you know, like the dev in the back with the beard, right? So like those guys, yeah, you're a certification agency for sure, dude. I trust that guy. So like, you know, anyone who's certified as a technical expert can call external function calls as long as they're signed up for the IDEN3 service and they have been made a claim from that team.
So that they get certified through
the certification agency. The cool thing with IDEN3 is you get to choose the authority that a magical system. And in fact, if you want, I would say the easiest way to learn how to use ZK snarks right now is to go to IDEN3's blog. Jordi Bellina, my partner in crime, like all the time, he created a compiler that you can create your own ZK snark circuit. If you have a little bit of dev experience, like some Python and some basic like knowledge, maybe you've been a dev for 2 years, you shouldn't have any trouble doing this. And you can create your own trusted setup so that you can create a circuit so that you don't need to know the inputs, but you can verify that the outputs are correct using let's just say crypto magic, right? Cryptographic magic. Yeah, math magic. You want
oh yeah, is that a follow-up to this topic? Because I just had a somewhat irrelevant question to this particular.
No, then you could go first.
Well, okay, so I mean, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. I'm a little distracted because I was arguing with the cranky customer, doing some triage. So you guys have a 51, in what you set up, there's a 51% quorum, meaning 51% of people have to vote. And then 67% have to support, of that 51 have to support. Okay, so in the case of there's clearly someone kind of trolling our group right now a little bit and putting some, I thought it was Boban, but he's been too busy with the Carlos Matos stuff. But yeah, there's a couple of ridiculous suggestions for votes, and I assume if nobody votes, then it just ignores it, then it goes away?
After 72 hours, the vote says no, because we set that up at the beginning, the time length of the vote. So if the criteria is met, the vote passes right away, right? If you have that much quorum, and 67% of them have said yes, and it's impossible, and it's impossible for that to be broken, then it passes right away, right? But if, for this one, 67% of people, number 5, we actually need 67% of people to say yes before it passes. If it gets to 51%, it'll still sit here and it'll pass in 72 hours because there was the possibility for everyone who still has tokens to say no, and then it would be less than 67% of people that support it, right? So if we get to 67%, this will pass automatically, because then it wouldn't be possible for those rules to be broken. If it gets to 66%, it'll sit there for 3 days and pass as long as not everyone else said no. And if the time ends and it only has 50%, it will be a no. So votes won't count.
So the range is what, 51 to 66? I don't know.
So if it ends in 72 hours with anywhere between 51% and 67%, it'll be yes. If it ends at 50, if it ends right now, like 72 hours is actually like 25 minutes, this would end up as a no vote, right? And if it ends up at any time more than 23% of the total token weight, the token holders say no, then it would end right away. The vote would go away, right? So it's like, these are the rules, quorum and support. It's just like a governance thing.
But it's pretty critical, I think, if you're doing something of value here or meaningful. Like, I can imagine, I can't even get I haven't played this in years, but I remember playing fantasy football with friends and trying to get people to come together just to like communicate about the most simplest things or whatever. Like, it's hard to get people involved. Even in traditional voting, people don't really come out, right?
Totally. When I created a proposal to create a DAO and give it, and I had to go deep into what the quorum and support meant, and so I gave a bunch of examples, and you really have to be over. Oh, where'd that go? Do you know where that is? Is it on the Lumio? Is it on this Lumio though? So I think there's another Lumio somewhere where I actually laid it out where it's like, if there's 30 token holders, because this is a one token, one vote. If there's 30 token holders and this many say yes and this many say no, then it will pass. Or if this many say yes and this many say no, then it won't pass. And really map it out, because when you have a couple variables that matter, it gets really complicated really fast.
And do you have any ideas about how to encourage people to engage and vote and to keep it?
I do. So there's this idea that Jeff and I and a few other people within the Giveth sphere are pushing really hard, where you know, it's one token, one vote, but to even obtain the token, you either have to delegate your vote or participate in the governance system. So you have to, before you allow people to enter, you impose governance on them, right? So it's like, oh, you want to hold this token for investment purposes? Okay, well, delegate to someone you trust, or start participating in governance and tell us where you want your votes to go. And then if there's also a vesting period. So if they're ever not, I mean, this is still in the design phase, so obviously things can change, but if they're ever not participating in governance, let's say that the proposals they voted on passed and now their tokens are kind of like sitting in limbo, not allocated to something, then they're being divested. They're losing time. So we're like basically creating incentive mechanisms to get crowd-funded information, crowdsourced information. But there's lots of techniques, just lots of incentivization options. You know, you can do all sorts of crazy things.
Works? Switch it on.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you mind going to the finance steps on the Aragon? So I created another DAO for Barcelona decentralized DAO, and it's democracy and has only 2 tokens. I have one of the tokens and I send the second token to this DAO. How is it possible for one DAO to control another DAO? Like, what happens with these? Is this to meta or?
I'll let Jeremy answer that.
So right now, it's kind of tough for it, but I'm making the tools that make it possible. Right now, if it's in the finance app, it won't be able to do anything with it other than later send it to the Actor app. But once we have the Actor app up and running, it'll be able to send the token to the Actor app, and the Actor app will be able to act in your Barcelona app. Right now, if you can write things directly into the EVM, you can send the token to the voting app and be able to vote, but you have to use the CLF for that.
Okay, thank you.
So I was wondering, how is this going to disrupt, first, like you give this example of ordinary corporation, right? It can be governed more effectively with this. And then there's a situation where you can imagine a market or a business that is becoming more competitive and making more profits because they are organized like this instead of like traditional ways. So that is there already examples, or are there people blogging about how this is going to happen? And then related to that, what is the best way to get started with disrupting specific government functions that people are dissatisfied with right now? There's a lot of examples where people complain, like, oh, I wanted to get something done, the bureaucrat didn't really help me out, right? So how is that? Is there people thinking about that and writing about that, and where should I look?
Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, this is the way to have a peaceful revolution, right? The idea here is that, at least my idea, I don't know, I'm sure I share this idea with a lot of people, is that Bitcoin and digital currencies itself are not actually that revolutionary. They're more evolutionary. They can't be stopped. We can slowly evolve, starting with this foundation, and option, something that the community of people that are disgruntled with the current system can opt into to make the current system unnecessary. Kind of like how, you know, people selling phones that have that like rotating thing pretty much went out of business, right? They don't exist anymore. And it wasn't a revolution, it's just technology evolved to make them obsolete. And here we have the opportunity to create systems around garbage protector, just garbage collection, right? Like, actually Chiang-Mai's garbage collection is pretty good. So it's not the perfect example, but let's say it sucked. Let's say that, like, for some reason garbage collection guys just kept going on strike, and, you know, they kept leaving the garbage around. But then the community got together and they created a DAO, and people would send money into this DAO, and the more money they sent in, the more likely, the more power they had in the decision-making process of who what gets funded for picking up garbage, right? And so they could make sure anyone who funded this DAO can make sure that they get garbage collection every day, right? You don't have to like overthrow the current government to get garbage collection. You just have to deploy a DAO and get enough people to buy into it and incentivize people to collect your garbage that it happens. And this is the magic, right? We can create currencies that incentivize human behavior. This is the real magic behind crypto economics and Bitcoin. That they create Satoshi and whoever they were, right? They created a system that incentivized people to run clients on their computer that support the Bitcoin network. That's amazing, right? Then people made Namecoin, and that incentivized people to support a decentralized DNS system, .bit, right? And so now you can register a .bit domain, and the maintenance of that is incentivized by the protocol itself. Those are DAOs. Okay, drink. Obviously, the monetary system still exists. Bitcoin didn't overthrow the government or the banking system. And they don't have to. They just have to be better and make it better, easier to use these digital currencies in this DAO than it is to use the current system. CureCoin, right, is amazing. They're taking computing power and using it to unfold and fold human proteins in Stanford research centers. They incentivize people to contribute their computing power to help cure cancer, right? The prime coin is like my favorite example because you just have to guess a prime number, right? We're discovering prime numbers every whatever minutes on average because someone created a botnet that hacked a bunch of people's computers and now is running prime coin on their computing system, right? I know this is kind of a weird thing. That's why you have to be careful about how you write these protocols. Because right now, Primecoin is mostly used by hackers to generate money by taking over random people's computers with a virus and guessing prime numbers because it's very CPU intensive. So botnets are the main miners for Primecoin. So while this is powerful technology, we have to be really careful how we design these systems. This is why Jeff and I are working really closely with a group called Block Science to run simulations on our project, which is trying to take it one step further, where we use DAOs and the creation of a currency to incentivize human behavior like picking up garbage in Chiang Mai, right? In fact, there's a really cool group in the South called Trash Hero, and Jeff wrote a blog post that just stole my heart, called Rewriting the Story of Human Collaboration. Rewriting the Story of Human Collaboration, which is really what we're doing here. We're evolving a new way for humans to collaborate in a decentralized way and create new incentive mechanisms that support what we all want, right? No one wants the moat to be dirty. No one wants garbage around town. But yet, there's this kind of commons issue where people just throw garbage in because the pain of that garbage throw is averaged out to be very little pain for them and very little pain for everybody. But they get to capture the full benefit. Now, if we can realign incentives within our community using these tools, then we can really change the way things work. And we can be better than governments. I really believe this is possible, and Jeff and I are working really hard to push that, including and Jeremy and Chris and Aragon DAC and Chris and Lorelei and Dap Lion and all the Giveth crew. We're all pushing this direction, and it's very exciting. But anyway. Oh yeah, you gotta get. Did you post it in the thread? Okay, cool. Because the post will get moderated until our benevolent dictator over here says yes, or anyone he delegated his authority to. Any other questions? Yeah.
To
follow up on Charles' question about voting. We had the presentation from EOS guy here 2 months ago in Food for Thought, Ash Oro, and he is running something called voting proxy. So are there any voting proxies available on Ethereum or planned?
Voting proxies, can you say more about what that
So
means?
basically the voting proxy is, you know, for people who have no time to vote, because EOS is really heavy on voting, right? Because it's this distributed proof of stake. So they created this voting proxies. So for people who don't have time to track all these important votes, they basically chose the proxies that represent the value. So it's kind of like choosing politicians, really. So this voting proxy is kind of like a, you know, but people who are well known in the community, and they basically represent what they stand for, and basically users can delegate, start their whatever EOS tokens, and you know, have their votes being casted for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we usually use the term liquid democracy for this implementation, although it's also just more simple delegated voting. And lots of people are working on that. There's actually in Aragon right now a spec being played with for creating a one-hop delegation voting app. Right now, it doesn't exist right now. You could, of course, just send your governance token to somebody, but you wouldn't be able to pull it back. But Giveth actually runs on a system called liquid pledging, which is very similar to the idea, but instead of one person, one vote, it's one token, one vote. And we got a drink. So with this system, because we have identity issues, right? And I'm sure it's the same in EOS, they have it's one token, one vote. You can delegate your tokens to somebody, but then you have still, you're giving them only a selected amount of authority over those tokens just to vote. And with Giveth, actually, the default is they have to, when they make a decision, the person who delegated authority over those funds has 3 days to veto that decision. So this is a system that we've been running for almost a year, and the delegation works fine. It's really fun. The problem is that it's expensive gas cost-wise. It's much easier to do on EOS because the gas is paid by the developers. But and so, you know, as long as the developer is down to fork out the money beforehand, then this stuff can happen. But that's a gross exaggeration of how it works, but that's okay, right? So I'm not an EOS guy. I'm not an EOS expert. But with what we're trying to do is we're trying to use side chains. So that you run this governance on a chain that's not the main Ethereum network, which is doing so much stuff, right? And is really there for fund transfer, right? And guaranteed the guaranteed ability to send money from one place to another or to create a token. What we do is we have a bridge to another network. And then you can do lots of stuff on this other network with the actual funds that are also being able to be locked in a contract on the main Ethereum network, but then played with on a side chain. And you can do all sorts of cool stuff that costs lots of gas, but it'll still be really cheap. And once the result is done through this on this other side chain, then it can actually end up sending money out to people on the main Ethereum network. That's how Giveth works right now. We have a side chain to the Rinkeby test network, and when someone sends Ether in, like real Ether, we have a bridge that creates an Ether token. We call it the Giveth token, Giveth token, right? It's not really a Giveth token. We've never done a crowd sale or any of that shit, right? We're just a charity, nonprofit. And so then we use that token and we move it around according to the rules of the smart contracts. And then when the rules of the smart contracts say, hey, Jeff needs to get paid, or actually like, see, I get paid through it, Jeff, Chris, Jeremy, Lorelei, Dappline's been paid through it. A lot of people in this room actually have interacted with this contract and received real Ether because of governance that happened on this sidechain. So then when that governance says send Ether to this address, it goes across the bridge, and the bridge tells the smart contract, send money to this guy, and it happens. So
you're doing a great job of explaining all this. How you doing?
Great. Should we
need another beer? Or?
No.
Okay. You got a few more minutes?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I think you kind of just explained it, but first, okay. So you mentioned that you can veto a delegate.
You can veto a delegate's decision, and you can actually, and you can always also remove that delegate. You can take your money back from the delegate.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then, so I think you were kind of explaining it, but maybe could you just flesh out the idea of liquid democracy a bit more?
Yeah.
And also the other thing is you started the conversation kind of saying that Rinkeby could, in theory, sort of undermine the whole thing. Is that I would think that's a big problem. What's the solution to that going forward?
So the problem is you have to have, okay, I'm going to start with that because it's on topic, and then I'll explain liquid democracy. So the problem with Rinkeby is that it's controlled by very few actors and used mostly for a test network. So if there's a Constantinople upgrade and it doesn't work, they don't care that much, right? So that's kind of dangerous to be developing on. Also, your network is controlled by these developers that just they don't really care about what we're doing. Of course, I'm lucky. I know these guys. I know all the people that are using that system, and so I can do all sorts of stuff for free for my charity project, and they will probably help me out and tell me if there's going to be a problem. Not everyone has that access. So this is the biggest problem with sidechains in general. They're usually some kind of centralized proof of authority network, at least centralized around so many actors. And if it's free, it's also easy to DOS, right? Rinkeby has a limited amount of tokens that can be withdrawn from, and you have to put in a tweet that says, this is my address, right? And then you get 18 Ether. But if someone kept doing that, if someone really wanted to kill Giveth, they could just keep getting Rinkeby Ether and then just DOS the network and use the Ether because it has no actual tangible value and keep making worthless transactions that don't do anything for free and stop me from doing the cool stuff that I'm doing with Giveth. What we're working towards is moving to the XDAI chain. The XDAI chain is a bridged sidechain that has the authorities Protofire, MakerDAO, POA network, and Giveth. What do you know? And we will, that network uses DAI, which is worth $1, kind of like Ether. So the base currency is a stable token of $1, and so we can deploy our contract there, and it has 5-second blocks with 10 million gas, so it's much faster than the Ethereum network, and it'll work better, and very few people are using it, and we can still have more guaranteed security properties, and also we can use the bridge that they created, which has been much better audited than Giveth's bridge, okay? They have good people that built the bridge, but it's not nearly as good as theirs. So we're going to move over there when we feel comfortable with the way things are going, and then it won't be free to do governance, but it'll be really cheap. It'll be way less than a penny for anything you want to do. So it'll be practically free. And then, does that answer that? Yeah?
Some follow-up on that. So I understand that you're using Rinkeby network only because of the current scalability limitations of the mainnet. So once that is solved, you don't need to use any bridges or Rinkeby network. Is that correct?
Yeah, drink. Oh, no, Kai, I'm not doing push-ups. Because I'm I'm lazy. Oh God, don't make me do it, man. If the DAO votes, I'll do push-ups. Yeah, oh no, push-ups? Then they won't sell drinks, man. We got burpees? Fuck you guys. Yeah, okay, wait. So, I'll explain the democracy.
Shareholder of the China airport.
Okay, so we went to Rinkeby because at the time there's a huge, and at the time when we did this, we actually deployed the mainnet with our smart contracts January of last year, but it was too expensive to do what we wanted to do because of CryptoKitties and $1,400 Ether. The gas prices were high, and it just didn't make sense for charities to pay as much money to deploy a contract on the mainnet. It didn't make sense. So we had to find a solution, and at the time we ran into a huge centralization issue in Ethereum, which is there's Etherscan was the only blockchain that created. Oh shit! Don't say yes. So we actually started to have a sidechain that shows internal transactions for us to check our DApp with independently. We would need to use Etherscan, which is closed source, controlled by Matt Ton, who's a great guy, friend of mine, love the guy, but it's a golden cage that Ethereum is in. The only good block explorer was Etherscan, and I would have to give him $5,000 a month to get it deployed on my blockchain, maybe. This is a rumor, right? I never actually asked him about it. Maybe he would have done it for me for free because he's cool, or because I'm cool, and we have nepotism, and that's great, right? No, that's not cool. That's centralized and lame. So I actually gave it a start at this thing called Open Source Block Explorers Now, and a group, POA Network, who does sidechain stuff, also ran into this issue. So they created another another block explorer called Block Scout, which launched a couple months ago. And that was the missing piece for us to do a sidechain, because you have to be able to see all the complicated stuff that's going on in EVM to test that your DApp is running the way it is. You have a UI that you can show what's going on your sidechain, but how does someone double check that? You have to have an independent way to check that what the UI is telling you is actually happening. And so like a third-party certification agency, and that's what a block explorer does for the blockchain. You're actually saying, oh yeah, the application that says this is happening, well, this block explorer also says this is happening, so we're probably cool unless they're colluding, right? So that was the missing piece. That's why we had to go to Rinkeby, because they had Etherscan already, and it was an easy solution, so we could build our app there with the plan to always move it to another chain once we had that open source block explorer community going, and we have a independent block explorer, which we have now, so it's so cool. And then liquid democracy. So the idea of liquid democracy is like a hybrid between representative democracy, which is what most governments use these days, and direct democracy, which is the idea is one person, one vote, and you get to vote on everything. The idea is let's merge those things, use the internet. You don't need a blockchain to do this. You can use the internet to actually say, hey, let's have elections every second. And everyone can be a politician. You don't have to, anyone, you can delegate your vote to anybody that you want, and then they can delegate your vote to anybody else, right? So if there's a topic that you're really excited about, let's say cleaning up the moat, and you're like, dude, I live on the moat, I'm driving on the moat every day, I'm getting sprayed with water, I want to turn off the fountains in the moat, right? I don't want this nasty stuff in my mouth, it's so gross, like I feel like I'm gonna die if I keep riding around the moat. So you could be like, yo, I'm voting for that, and you could take your vote back and actually vote, stop the fountains on the moat. And then but let's say that that's all you want to vote for, you can just push a button and redelegate to the person that represents you and usually like follows up on other votes. And what's really cool is if you have this baseline system, you can post. codify it further, and you could even tag votes, right? If you had a way to tag each vote as, you know, kind of an economic, a financial vote, or an environmental vote, or a social vote, you could use delegation to say, I want this person to represent me for social issues, I want this person to represent me for financial issues, and this person to represent me for environmental issues. And you can divide your vote into as many parts as you want, and delegate it to whoever you want on different issues. And then we don't need full-time politicians anymore. And those politicians are held accountable, the people who you have delegated to are held accountable for how they vote every second of every day. And if somebody fucks up huge, you can just take your votes away and move to someone else. And yeah, I think this is a very promising form of governance. That's why we experiment with it in Giveth, and we're actually building this for Aragon DAC, a core system. The problem is on the EVM, the gas costs, which is why we need to move to the sidechain to really make this kind of stuff reality for Ethereum.
What would be the incentive for somebody to be a delegate? So you do things better if he's a full-time politician.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem we'd have to solve, right? Some people just care, right? Some people care a lot, and they want to vote, they want the power, and so that might be incentive enough. Maybe there's a rule that, you know, delegates get paid a percentage based on how much voting power they have, and they can, you know, that comes out of the DAOs. Well, I mean, because in this case we'd be using DAOs. That comes out of the DAO's pocket every day. There's like a stream of money that goes to everybody who's holding their vote. Anyone participating in governance gets $5 a day per vote that they get, or maybe it's 5 cents a day, right? And it'd almost be a way of universal basic income too, right? It'd be kind of cool. Yeah, you're paid for participating in the governance system, right? I mean, you can, this is the magic of crypto economics. You can create the incentive, you can play with incentives to make it work. The thing that we're running into is that people are implementing too fast. I'm guilty. I'm so guilty of implementing too fast, okay? Like, we're designing complex systems, and if you talk to this genius, Michael Aragon, man, he will talk your ear off about this. There is a clear path. When people are designing systems, like real systems in the real world, not this crypto economic craziness where a bunch of crypto anarchists made it big so they have a bunch of money so they can just do whatever they want and play and have fun, right? If you're designing the, you know, control system for an aircraft, you're going to have, you know, they have broken this shit down into science. You create a design, then you simulate that design with mathematics, and you take each component of that design. Like, let's say you have a circuit. There's a simple circuit that you want to test, right? An electrical circuit. And this the electrical circuit's designed like, oh, I want a capacitor here and a resistor here. Right? This is kind of like the white paper in the crypto space. You have a white paper, you have a design for an electric circuit. And in the real world, before you start building the thing, because in the crypto world, you have a white paper, let's build it, you know? In the real world, if it's an important system, you simulate. You simulate that system first. You're like, okay, well, the math behind a resistor is this, the math behind a capacitor is this, the math behind all these things is this, and let's see if it works. And then you start to implement. And maybe you're building the circuit, and you're like, oh no, I thought I had 12 gauge wire, but I only have, 10 gauge wire. Okay, so I have to go back up and change the simulation, and you go back and forth between the simulation and the implementation, and maybe if you have to go up again, you have to change the design spec, maybe, right? But for crypto, you're skipping this very important simulation step, because the tools barely exist. And people aren't using MATLAB to simulate crypto economic systems. And we need to, if we're going to build important systems, we don't want them to end up like Primecoin, right? They can't end up like Primecoin. We want to clean up the moat, but we don't do the simulations, right? We could actually make the moat dirtier because we led it's kind of like asking the genie in a bottle for a wish. You have to be really careful, And you have to formulate, maybe let's just test thousands of scenarios with this wish that we're asking the genie before we actually make the wish. And so then once you've implemented it, you know, as a kind of a test, you can verify that the implementation is going. And it's just the current crypto economics like players kind of skipping that simulation step. I did with the DAO, and I think that other people will continue to do that until we make these tools available. And Block Science has a beautiful tool. I'm really excited about pushing it.
What's that?
Block Science, they're doing this thing that we actually were on a call today, which is why it's on the top of my mind, calling it like token physics. So there's a lot of token engineering going on, but no one's actually studying the physics behind these incentive models. There's all sorts of cool systems like predator and prey models, where you can like change certain variables, like where you can change certain variables, like you can enter hunters, right, to hunt the predators, and then you can, you know, maybe you can like have some other, you know, tools in there to model this. You have predators, you have prey, they reproduce at these rates. Let's see what happens. And then you run the simulation and you see how many rabbits you end up with over time and how many foxes, and then you introduce hunters to reduce the fox population when the rabbits get out, and then the rabbits get out of control, so you turn down the hunters, and you can play these simulations. You can do that with tokens too. It's like, how many, in a verification game, how many cheaters do you have? You know, you can, you know, like, you can start making estimations, but then, of course, the simulation is only as good as you spec it, so then you have to start implementing, and then do the implementation tests, and then get feedback on that simulation, and that's where I hope Giveth can play, where we can start implementing some of these things that have been simulated, and we have a good idea of how it'll work, but let's like implement it with real money in an open system where we can run this simulation, our theories on how to work, and test it in a place where it's okay if it fails, right? So we're just trying to clean up the moat. People can say, hey, I have this idea to clean up the moat. So they make a proposal on Giveth system, on the Giveth DApp. And anyone in the world can fund that proposal. But we actually created a DAO for Chiang Mai to use to clean up the moat. That's its only purpose. And we have some cool token economics that incentivize people to buy in because they think they can make money to a certain point. There's lots of complicated things, but basically, like, the idea is to create continuous funding for a tragedy to common issue, so that this DAO will always have an operating capital of $50,000 or 50,000 baht to 2 million baht. Right? This DAO will always have that every day, and we can try to design that system based off of a curve which says what the price of this token is. So you buy into this curve, the money doesn't actually go anywhere, it stays in the smart contract, but tokens are generated for the DAO to use, and then that feeds into the price of the curve. How many tokens does the DAO have, right? So I'm sorry, it's kind of a complicated system. I don't necessarily need to go all into it, but we can do this, we can test this on saving the moat over here. The people who propose on Giveth to clean up the moat a certain way, anyone can still fund them, even if this DAO's model completely crashes and burns, gets hacked or whatever. They're still saying, hey, guess what, guys, please fund me. Like, I have a great idea to clean up the moat. It doesn't stop the problem, like, from being solved. It's just a really safe place to play with crypto economic primitives to make the world a better place at the same time, right? So that's the idea of Giveth, is playing on this implementation level. And then when it's been tested thoroughly there and validated for charity, maybe we can start like real big things, like overthrowing governments kind of shit. But yeah, there was a question over here.
My question is that you have an important call in 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Well, then we might need to wrap up.
The call's in 50 minutes, but I have to leave in 20 minutes for sure.
You can take a call from here.
Yeah. You still got burpees to do as well.
No, did that pass? No, that didn't pass.
Are you sure?
What is a no?
Yeah, it's at 10:30 New York time.
Griff, not to toot my own horn, but last year we closed the restaurant for a day to take the team to go clean up the moat.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
You got you covered here.
Well, next time we'll create a token economic system to pay you to do it.
Sounds great. I'm all for it. Do we have more questions?
Cool. Yeah, you guys probably need time to talk amongst yourselves anyway. or take up everything. So I think I can end it right there. Thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Just last question for you is, so from all the things you presented today, if you could summarize it in one sentence, what would it be?
One sentence.
You can be your own bank, you can be your own government, and we can solve the world's problems with potentially token economics.
All right, let's do it for Rick. And Jeremy. Thank you. Carlos Matos.
Yeah, Carlos. I think that's the only proposal that actually passed, by the way. Carlos Matos needs to come to CM. It's been executed, okay?
Money's in the bank.
Yeah.
On the past.
On the bank. We don't use banks.
All right, so we're done with tonight's presentation, but as always, we're going to stay around, have some beers, music, and any questions to Griff and the team, they're going to still be around for a few minutes, I guess, before the call. Otherwise, you guys are in town until the 19th, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And you're going to be around on the Thursday, our crypto meetup in cube number 7 every Thursday, 7 p.m. Are you guys joining?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, if you guys have any further questions after some research on Aragon and DAOs, they're still going to be around to clarify any kind of doubts you have.
Did you want to mention about next Monday?
Next Monday? Oh, of course. But first we need to drink.
Drink. Cheers, everyone. Definitely got to get a vote to send the flight path a different direction. That's what we need on the DAO for sure.
It's good for food to thought.
That's, well, depends on how you look at it, but yeah, it's definitely selling some beers. Yeah, so next Monday.
Yeah, next Monday again, something very special. So every Monday is something special. So next Monday, our very own Chiang Mai Lighting Network team. Yeah. Lighting Network team. Woo woo. All right, today we're gonna have a really nice session. As many of you know, they've been developing a lighting network solution, so a hardware box that enables any kind of merchant to simply, plug and play without
Like
installing
food for
anything.
thought.
And yeah, Food for Thought is gonna be the first one ever in the world, right? The first merchant in the world to be able to
In the world, that's what I heard, yeah.
To use a plug and play hardware solution to accept Lightning Network payments on Bitcoin network.
That's
How cool is that?
Really, really cool.
Woo!
What is Carlos like? Carlos likes it.
Carlos says, woo!
Okay.
Yeah, so
to find out more details about what they're doing, how they're doing it, please join us next Monday, same time, 7 p.m.
And
we're gonna probably start around 7:15. So
yeah, because y'all are late.
Settle down, get some drinks, take it easy, be sabai.
Yes, very sabai. Although, bear in mind always that the kitchen unfortunately closes at 8:15, so if you want to eat, you got to order before, not after. For those of you that are hungry, you're out of luck tonight. There's more beer though. That's liquid meals. Can we just give it up one more time, Griff? Honestly, that was one of the best presentations we've ever had. Absolutely outstanding. Very edifying. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We got Crypto Kitties to join us as well. Just for you, bud. Special gift. And if you'd like, yeah, you could take her home if you want. She's driving me nuts. But, yeah. But we need to get some more of that Bitcoin rap going on.
Yeah,
And if you guys enjoyed the rest of the evening, have some beers, talk amongst yourselves. A lot of interesting topics tonight worth discussing, so stick around. Thank you. Good night.
See you next Monday.